Welcome to the Endurance Diaries podcast, a space for us to go beyond the surface of success into the possibilities of greater discovery in the process. I'm Ashley Yeshevich, and my hope is for our hearts to be encouraged as we hear stories from people who share the unexpected parts of their journeys, the parts that build something within us I like to call the endurance to keep going. So let's get going. Hey guys, it's Ashley and welcome back to the Endurance Diaries podcast. I am so pumped for this episode and I hope that you are ready because I am joined today by someone who you may just know. He's an author, motivational speaker, former NFL player, fills arenas and inspires hearts all over the world, not to mention the millions on social media, but most importantly, a husband and father, an incredible man of God. And for me, I'm truly honored to call him my friend and so thankful for the opportunity to introduce him as a guest on this podcast. So with that, I want to officially welcome Trent Shelton. Trent, thank you so much for being here and doing this with me. I am so excited.
I'm excited, Ashley. I'm super proud of you. I'm happy to be here. Happy that you're sharing your platform with me, so thank you so much. And, I don't even want to just start off with this, but I will say this, I tell you this offline all the time. Like, you believed in me when nobody else was, I wouldn't say believing in me, but you helped me out when it would be 10 people at these events or 5 people, especially in Pittsburgh. And so that always set with my heart and it just speaks to your character. And so I'm just proud of you and I appreciate you for believing in me when it wasn't popular too. So I appreciate you.
Thanks so much, Trent, for real. I really, really appreciate you. And I'm pumped to get into, that story about you coming to Pittsburgh. This is just crazy because among everything else, you have one of the best podcasts available to the world. It's called Straight Up with Trent Shelton, which is totally fire. And for you to be here with me today on this little startup just means so much. And one thing I appreciate so much about you is that you're really for people and you're really about what you put out to the world. And so super, super cool to stay connected over these years for sure.
Absolutely. And it's a big startup, by the way. What you're doing is big, it's major. Anytime you start something, anytime you do something, it's always major. We all got to start somewhere. So I'm just happy that you took this major step. Appreciate you.
So some people might be wondering, again, how we actually know each other. So I want to rewind real quick before I get into the questions I have for you. I first discovered you through Twitter back when I was in high school. And at that time, I was pursuing, my D1 dreams for basketball, experienced some adversity, and really just looking, for some positivity. So where else to go but Twitter, right? And I came across your page and learned a bit about you and your athletic journey, and just so inspired by your messages of resilience and hope and really just purpose. And around that time, you had launched your nonprofit Rehab Time, which I remember you always saying is just about becoming the person that God created you to be. And you'd host conference calls, which I would tune into. And then, as you mentioned earlier, you came to Pittsburgh when we officially met in person. And years later, now, right, you've published some amazing books, traveled the globe, speak at major events, and your content is shared worldwide online. But that didn't just happen overnight. So that's where I want to kick things off. And I want to look back at that time when you would go to different cities, speak to small crowds, places like, a coffee shop in Pittsburgh. There was maybe 15, 20 people in a small circle. Can you dive into that process a bit for us here?
Absolutely. I mean, thinking about it. And it's funny, I was just talking to the team about this recently, like how I want to do that, in nature, just these small groups, because this is the thing, we often think, oh man, it's only 5 or 10 people. But at that time, that was a lot. For me to be like, man, I'm in Pittsburgh right now and there's 20 people that know me in Pittsburgh. That is crazy to me. And so I just wanted to set up events where, it wasn't some, celebrity thing, or it wasn't something that you couldn't touch the person that you supported and follow. I wanted to let people know that I'm human just like you. I want to let people know, like, I'm on this journey right now. Like, I haven't reached my destination, but I'm on this journey with you. And to get the feedback, to see, hear the stories from people face to face, for them to chime in. I even got helped, even at these events. It was incredible. I mean, and that's how I started. I went from city to city, as you said, Ash, like in coffee shops where I hit somebody up and like, hey, you got a place, and this person has a place for free. And, I didn't have the money at that time, despite what people may think, because people think, oh, you're an ex-NFL player, but I wasn't making money like that. So I was literally just breaking even with my merchandise, breaking even, whatever. But I always knew that it was more than breaking even, because I knew the seeds that I was planting in every single city that I touched. And, not to, I guess, to make this story kind of, to wrap it up, every time I went back to those cities, it grew every single time, whether it was 30 more people, 40 more people, some cities the next year was 100 more people. And it's because I believe that I connected personally with people, and they got to see, okay, Trent is for real. He's not perfect, but you can really feel his energy and he really cares about this. So let me spread this message. And that's how Rehab Time spread, man. It was really from the getting out the mud and like the grassroots of, people sharing the messages that they believed in.
For sure. And like you said, really connecting with people in a real way. That's what I just appreciate so much about you. And it's like you really stay true to that, even as your following has grown and audiences have gotten bigger and everything over time. But I also have a clip of something that you said from the event specifically in Pittsburgh. How many years ago was that now? 8-9 years ago. And that is, don't turn down on your vision. Don't turn down on who you are. I would love if you could just speak to that real quick, again, as it pertains to your journey.
Yeah, I mean, we live in a society where, it's changed a bit. I call it the perfection society. And it's such a judgmental society where people will literally silence their voice to make other people feel comfortable because, actually, it's the fear of being judged. It's the fear of being criticized. Nobody likes to be judged. Nobody likes to have somebody talk about them, right? So ever since we were kids, like, they used to hurt our feelings, growing up. And as we get as adults, we don't get bulletproof to that. It still hurts when people don't agree with us, or people don't like us, or people have something to say. And what happens is people will become a version that other people want them to be, that's comfortable for that person, right? They will promote the version of yourself that's lesser to make them more comfortable. And sometimes it's the people closest to you, sometimes it's strangers, whatever it may be. And what happens is, I can guarantee you, majority of people listen to this podcast, this is not criticism towards them, because I was this person, is that they're probably not being the person that they were created to be. They're being the person that opinions have forced them to be, failure has convinced them to be, etc. And so I'm always telling people, man, turn up on your vision, turn up on your gift, turn up on your talent, because if you don't, it's selfish. There's somebody out there in the world that needs that. Like, there's people, and it gives me chills even talking about this right now. Like, I'm preaching to myself, because there's things that I want to even turn up more on my vision in my current moment. But I would sit back there and think, because my grandmother told me this, and I'll never forget it. She said, Trent, there are specifically people that you are called to reach, that Oprah can't reach, that Michael Jackson couldn't reach, whoever couldn't reach, that you can reach. And until you walk into your greatness, they're never going to get influenced by you, ever. And so that gave me the courage and permission to share my story. And the more you share your story and the more you turn up on your vision, the less you start to care about the people who aren't there for you. Like, you're not going to be everybody's cup of tea. I said this the other day, people laughed. I said, I might not be your cup of tea. Go get some coffee then, and I understand that. And so, yeah, that's what I mean by that. Turn up, and you're going to make people uncomfortable, but it's okay. Nipsey Hussle said this. I don't know if it's his quote or not, but I saw it and it always stuck with me. He said, would you rather be at peace with yourself and at war with the world, or at war with yourself and at peace with the world? Mm. And there's so many people who are at war within themselves because they trying to, make everybody else comfortable. They try not to offend people, but they, at night, internally, they have an internal battle. And I said, I don't want that. I would rather be who I am and give my gift to the world. And everybody don't like it, cool. But at least I'm at peace with myself.
That's so good. I feel like I just sit here and I just want to process everything, but I know I'll get time to later. for the people that, may be listening and thinking about a dream that they have or something that they may want to go after, but, have all of this fear and these thoughts, my question is, what does starting small look like for somebody who has a really big dream? Like, what is that one thing that you can just do right now that's going to move you forward?
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. I mean, you look at any journey. Think about a journey. I don't care if it's a journey, you're driving somewhere, a destination, it starts by getting in the car and driving, right? It starts mile by mile. You cannot get to your destination if you don't take the journey. Same with climbing mountains. I love to hike, right? I can't get to the top of the mountain if I'm not willing to climb. And I think we live in a generation where we made it cool not to try anymore. Like, when does it become like when does it become taboo to not try? Like, trying, failing, all those things, to me, that's legendary, because that leads you to something greater. And so the thing that I always tell people, and it might not have anything to do with your dream, anything to do with your mission or your vision, I always say, start with something you can control that would better your life. Start there, right? Because a lot of times we want these big dreams and these big things to happen, which they can, but we don't want to be loyal to the small things. And if you can't be loyal to the small things, I can guarantee you the big things will never happen. So in my journey with Rehab Time, Rehab Time wasn't to start a nonprofit, Ash. It wasn't to be a speaker. It wasn't doing any of this stuff. Like, I didn't want to grow up being a speaker. Rehab Time was for me. And the reason I said those words, because that was my mantra. That was my trigger to make me go do the things that I knew were in my control. And it was mind, body, and soul. So I said, you know what? I know if I go work out, then I'm going to become a better person. I know if I just start reading books, because I wasn't even picking up books, I will become a better person. So let me control the things that are in my control. And I think what paralyzes people so much is that they live outside of their control, right? They live in the world of the things that they can't control. You can't control how many people watch your video. You can influence it. You can't control how many people download your podcast. Of course, with consistency, you can influence it, but you can't control that. But what you can control is pressing record and showing up. What you can control is saying, you know what? I'm going to start living a healthier life. And so when you start to maximize the things that are in your control, you'll start to realize the growth and the connection that you'll start to see in the harvest that you'll start to reap that might be out of your control in the current moment. So starting small starts with what's in your control that you can be consistent with, that will better your life.
I just think that's so good. And I think sometimes too, when we learn to surrender, those certain outcomes, there's more room, for discovery and possibility, in the process of that. And that's where I want to go, because there's so many times in life where things don't go the way that we plan, or we don't get the results that we want. And I think some of that stuff really can keep us down and discourage us, and really kind of stop us from even going after that next thing that may be stirring up in our heart. It's very easy in that way, I think, to just throw in the towel. Like, that's the easy choice. So how do you count yourself in and keep going when that happens and, odds are against you?
The bigger picture. You got to stay focused on the bigger picture. It's what Brady did against the Falcons in that Super Bowl when they're down 28-3. He stayed focused on the bigger picture. And I've seen that so many times in my life. And when we look at sports, it's knowing that you can't let the small moments, right? And this with sports, Ash, you can't let the quarters, right? The bad quarters or the bad halves or the bad little spurts in the game keep your mind off the bigger picture. And so I'm always locked in on the bigger picture. Now, I'm not obsessed with it to where it takes my focus off the current moment, but I'm always telling myself there's something bigger, there's something greater. And you got to have a mantra in your life. You got to have something that triggers you. And my trigger word is, this is building me. So when I'm going through the moments of hard times, which I do have, when I'm going through the moments of things not going the way I plan them to go, I tell myself, this is building me. What is this trying to teach me? I'm growing. I'm becoming stronger, because I know the foundation for strength is pain. I know the foundation for growth is growing pains. It's a part of the process. And so you got to be able to trust the process, and the process doesn't look like success all the time, right? I always say, man, the road of success is paved with failure. It's paved with setbacks. Like that's what Success Avenue looks like. You know what I'm saying? That's why I love to see people who share the journey. That's why I love to see people who say, man, like this is where I'm at in life. And so for me, it's always telling myself those things. This is building me. There's something greater. I know that when I look back on my story, this is the chapters that's going to be the most pivotal. It's not going to be the highlights. It's not going to be the things that people cheered and patted me on the back for. It's not going to be the stages of 12,000 people. It's going to be those moments where 5 people showed up, because that's when I believed in myself the most and through that adversity. And so I fall in love with redemption too. You know, I'm always falling in love with redemption. And I think you got to have a redemption story in your journey to say, you know what, I can redeem myself. When I have the setbacks, when I fall off, when I go through my seasons of pain, my seasons of struggle, my seasons of disconnection, you can always redeem yourself. And the way you redeem yourself is by knowing that there's a bigger picture that is bigger than any current moment that you're currently going through.
Yeah, it's something that you say, right? Like oftentimes we can get so focused on the current circumstances that we forget what the process produces. And that's huge, because that's everything, the things that are building within us. It's so important to pay attention to, because there is so much greatness that is within us, that I believe. And that's something that, you know, the motto right on this podcast is, what's building within us is far greater than the things that happen to us. And yeah, we build endurance to keep going. That's the word. I love the word endurance. And again, you also talk about the marathon mindset, which I love.
Yeah.
Even when I'm out running, I think about it, right? Like the moment when literally like you can't do it anymore, but you keep going on. And as we keep moving forward, you say the breakthrough is near. When I want to stop, it's like, no, I can take that next step to keep going. And then it translates so much into life circumstances, right? Like sometimes in order to have those breakthroughs, right? Like you have to be at those moments where you feel like, you know, you're breaking down, right?
Yeah, it's not a breakthrough unless you're breaking through something, like it wouldn't
Amen.
be a breakthrough. And I just want to give like just even something tactical that I do with that. Like I encourage everybody, like you talked about running, I know people listening might not be runners, but do something that involves a process. So like I always talked about gardening. I'm not really a gardener, but I'm intrigued with the process of gardening, because it's a process. You have to plant the seed, you have to water the seed, you have to practice patience, and over time that harvest will be reaped. Or like you said, you go on a journey of health or running, like I'm in a journey right now. I went through kind of my tough season. I stopped running. I picked up some weight. And when you start back running, man, you already know I'm having like lower back problems. I'm huffing and puffing, but I loved it because every time I tell myself, I said, this is the last day that I'm going to feel this bad. I know tomorrow or the next day, I'm going to be better when I come back out here. And now I'm in a place where, my time is down. I can actually handle my runs and I'm doing a lot better. And so I challenge everybody to put yourself in environments of process, as I like to call it, as an environment that makes you endure a process. It could be building something in your house, because that shows you that there is a process, that you got to start somewhere to get somewhere. And in your mind, that will help you when it comes to building things like your business or, all the things that you want to build in your life.
I love that. That's so good. Putting yourself in place of process. I just have this picture, and I heard this once before about flowers, right? In the process of how they bloom. Something about flowers aren't concerned with who's watching them while they bloom. They just bloom because that's what they're meant to do. And yeah, and it's like there's going to be people who's going to have opinions all over, right? There's influence everywhere. We have the power to choose what we consume in that. And as long as we're just focused and stay going and keep growing.
Absolutely.
So I want to switch gears real quick here and just dive into discovering your greatness in a world that feeds us lies about who we are. And I want to talk about this because struggles, they may look different on each of us, but I really believe that they come for all of us. And I think it's important to share because we can really help each other and really be more for each other, I think, in that way when we talk about it. And again, what's building within you is greater than the things that are happening to you, because who we are and our identity is so much more than the things that we do or what's been done to us, good or bad. I think often we can be so critical of ourselves and our past and can fall into this trap of allowing those failures or whatever it may be to define us. So I just want to quote something from your latest book, The Greatest You, that I really think puts language to some of these hard moments in our lives and would love for you to elaborate on it. So you say, when you own your darkest moments, you begin to understand something critical for your growth. Your struggles and your history don't define you. You are not your bad chapters. Your bad chapters are something that happened to you, maybe even something you participated in creating, but they are not you.
Yeah, 1,000%. You know, a lot of times we think we're mistakes because we make mistakes and we put that much pressure on ourselves. And I'm a big on accountability and responsibility to be able to change your situation, but you got to have self-compassion, for your life. And you got to know that, you know, those bad chapters is what makes your story great. Like nobody wants to read a story or watch a movie in life where everything is peaches and cream, right? Everything is perfection. No, we want to see overcoming. And I know we don't want to go through those moments on purpose, but when I wrote that in the book, that's what that meant. Just because you have some bad chapters doesn't mean your story can't end well. And when you take ownership over it and you realize that, like, okay, this can't stop me, right? This can't stop me. When you realize that, you start to find confidence as you move forward in your journey and you start to judge yourself less. Now, this isn't a pass to just do bad stuff and like not, just keep doing it because you want to learn from it. But it's to give you confidence in knowing that you don't have to live a perfect life, but you can live a progressive life.
I love that. And again, knowing your worth, like we are more than our circumstances and the things that have happened to us, our environments, limitations, all of these things. There's so much I could quote here and go into. That, like so many of my favorite things that I could ask you about, but I do respect your time. And to close, I just have a few words that I want the Trent Shelton definition of, if you're willing to go there.
Sure, let's do it.
All right. First word is progression.
Progression is an ugly road that leads to a beautiful place.
I like that. Success.
Fulfillment times peace equals success.
This is good. And finally, the last one is purpose.
Purpose is not something that you search for. Purpose is who you are.
Yes. I love to close in that way because I know oftentimes, like, I feel like we can get into these, I don't know, feel like we're always kind of searching for that next thing and that next thing and that getting into that place of striving. Like I need to go and do this and I'll be this, or I need to achieve this and it'll mean X, Y, and Z about me. But it's like God has given us this identity in him that's sealed. Nothing can change that.
For sure.
I think this has been so awesome. And again, just thank you so much for taking the time to join me in this way and hop on here.
I appreciate you. You doing it, you acting on it, and you've always been there for me. So this is no brainer.
For those listening, of course, you guys can find Trent anywhere at Trent Shelton. He will pop up YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, anywhere online. Trent, thank you so much for doing this. And I hope that we could do some kind of collaboration or something in some cities. Like that would be amazing when you come down here to Florida.
You already know. That's already a done deal and sealed deal. Got to do it for sure. The future is bright, man. So put your shades on.